Hello and welcome to another benefit of the Doud Review. I am your host, Adam Doud, and joining me is our reviewer in chief, Mr. Cliff Thomas. Cliff, how you doing?
Yeah, I put my invisible reviewer hat on today. You can't see it, but you all know it's there now. Just use your vivid imagination.
Right, and it's making your hair look totally snazzy. I love it.
Oh man,
But
my
but yes,
this is
so
desperate need of a haircut is what this is.
I understand. Yeah, I'm familiar with the scenario. Anyway, but yeah, so here we are here to take a look at a laptop that you've been using as a daily driver for quite a few weeks now, and
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is the
definitely.
Lenovo Slim Gen 8 AMD 16-inch laptop, a Legion laptop, which is Lenovo's gaming line. Now, this was not one of the ones that was announced at CES. This is actually a pre-CES device, but we
Hmm.
are in a post-CES world now, and we're not supposed to talk about time because sometimes these don't air on time. But that's fine
Time,
because we're here. Time
time,
has no meaning.
time and distance and space. It's all meaningless. And
There's no
the
time to
the
argue about time. We don't have the time.
the in the
Anyway,
is
uh,
it the YouTube verse? I'm not sure.
YouTubeverse? It could be. It could be. We can table that discussion for another time
Yeah.
though, because we have a Legion to get into, and let's start off as we typically do with kind of your high level view of how this laptop has been doing its stuff.
Well, this laptop is exactly what I need when I put on my other hat as a graphic designer. Because while I'm not a you're a huge gamer, I do enjoy playing a few games, and so but
Sure.
it lends itself to both because, as the name implies, with the Lenovo Lenovo Legion Slim 516, and the 16 actually denotes that it's a 16-inch screen. So a
Mm-hmm.
nice big. I mean, really, I would almost call it a worthy of being a workstation, even though it's not part of their ThinkPad line. But that's typically what I've been
Right.
using it as. So yeah, it's been it's a little beast. Actually, I wouldn't even call it little. It's a beast when it wants to be.
Yeah.
It is very well equipped, and I think for how it's equipped, it is priced right. This is definitely a laptop that's going to be in within the budgets of someone who wants a gaming laptop, and it's got all the RGBs if you wanted all that good stuff. So let's talk about how it's equipped before we actually show off all the understated goodness of the Lenovo Legion line.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
it
you want to run down the spec sheet there?
Yeah, sure. So it's got a Lenovo. I'm sorry. It's got a. So this is an AMD Ryzen, I believe 7840HS uh, processor inside, which is the higher output, but not quite desktop class. Um,
Okay.
if I remember correctly, but so it's still capable, obviously, of being in a laptop, in a mobile device. It's got
Yeah.
as far as the onboard graphics, it's got I believe it's a 780 from AMD. So if you didn't have the
Seven. Oh.
780X, I think. So that's like the
Okay.
discrete. That's your discrete graphics if they have. Or I'm sorry, that's your onboard graphics if it didn't have separate discrete graphics. And
I
then it
got you.
had
Okay.
right. So that's what it defaults to, I believe, when it is not plugged in. When it's going from more of it's got that more power efficient GPU, more of like along the lines of what you would get from Intel
Oh yeah. Okay.
like right. So
That makes
uh,
sense.
yeah, and then it's got the RTX 4060
Mm-hmm.
from NVIDIA as far as the discrete graphics are concerned. So that's sort of like it's higher than their lower level, which is I believe the 4050, and I believe that goes all the way up to a 4090. So it's still on the lower side of specs, but you'll see. I mean,
Higher than lower, but lower than higher. I got
right.
you.
So mid tier, I guess, is what lower on the lower side of the mid tier. But still,
I gotcha.
still
Okay.
for at least for the kind of gaming I do, it's definitely more than capable. It's got a 16-inch screen, I believe. Let's see. I'm looking for. So okay. So 1920 by 1200 WQXGA. It's an IPS display. And it's got all those goodies like the anti-glare, which is very nice. It's not a super shiny screen like some of the others that you'll see in multiple
Yeah.
lines, not just from Lenovo. 144 hertz capable display as well, which is really good if you're so you don't get any of that blurring or
Yeah.
when you're gaming, which is always nice. Let's
Not
see.
a touch screen, which I
No, it's
mean,
not a
on a
for
laptop. Yeah.
I mean it's not a yoga. It's not. Yeah, I mean this is definitely a gaming laptop in that respect. So it's not really meant for things like a stylus. It's not meant to, fold over like a yoga does. This is definitely in terms of the way the chassis is designed more for gaming. I personally don't mind it not having a touch screen because it's a 16-inch screen. But there are gaming laptops with touch screens out there if that's your bag, or
Sure. Sure.
laptops that have discrete graphics that aren't necessarily a gaming laptop with all the RGB and things like that that can get you a touch screen. As
Yeah.
equipped, this comes with 16 gigabytes of RAM. It is upgradable
Okay.
for up to 32 gigabytes of RAM, and comes
Nice.
with 512 gigabytes of storage. And it does have an
Okay.
extra NVMe slot if you want to add another
Oh,
mini SSD in there,
really?
which
That's
is
cool.
nice.
Okay.
So it is expandable. I believe. Wait a minute. Is that yes? That is right. That is what you said, really. And I was like, wait a minute. Let me just check to make sure.
Eh.
So
Well, I mean, it has such a slim profile, you wouldn't expect to find any empty space in there, but sure enough. Um,
yeah. I actually
yeah. Well, that's
I took
good.
it. I opened it up just to see how accessible everything is. First of all, really easy to get it open. All you need is just a small Phillips head screwdriver. Really nice to see them not
Okay.
using Torx on the bottom, unlike some of their competitors. And then
Right.
you just use a little spudger and pop off the bottom, and everything is accessible right there.
Nice.
It's very easy to access all of the upgradable components without a lot of work. So
Mm-hmm.
they've made this a very serviceable laptop if you want to upgrade it in the future. If you ordered it and then you want to add some more memory or some more storage, and then it looks like the battery would not be actually that hard to replace either if you wanted to. So I really like that
Okay.
about it.
Cool.
It was very easy to take apart and put back together, and I could get into it in about 10 minutes or less, and you just make. And I think all the screws were the same size too, which is really nice. You don't have to worry about like separating them and
Keeping them
right,
separate. Yeah.
exactly, which was really nice. So with that said, should we take a look at the hardware?
Yeah, absolutely. We can do that. Come on, come on over here, Slappy, and
Slappy the
let's.
review cam.
Yeah.
So you can see
Yeah.
this is the part of my studio that you don't normally see. I've got a nice Amazon box there colored by my daughter, the rainbow, and my
That's cute.
camera bag. Yeah. A
Yeah.
boom for my mic, and then the Lenovo Legion Slim 5.
Nice.
Slim 5. As you can see by the design, it's pretty understated. It's just sort of this gunmetal gray. You're getting a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
light reflection, but here is the back. Lots of venting.
Yep. And on the side.
And on the side, we've got on one side, I believe that is an SD card reader or a micro SD card. Actually, I think that's a full SD card size. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It
if
is a.
and if you see the switch there, let me see if I can like get it
That's
a little
a
closer.
privacy switch,
That
right?
is a private. Yeah, I'm trying to do this while looking at the screen. This is a privacy switch for your webcam. And then we've
Right.
got more venting on the sides. And we'll talk about
Mm-hmm.
the. And actually, let me actually show the other side first. And so that's the side I just showed. So, all right. And then on this side, we've got two USB-C ports. Those are USB 4, I believe, and then a headphone jack. And then actually,
Mm-hmm.
most of your I/O is on the back. And so you've got, let's see,
Okay.
two full USB-A ports, an RJ45 for connecting to the network, an HDMI. Let's see. That looks to be that's an HDMI out. I just wanted to make sure I was right. And
Yep.
then this is actually where the power supply plugs in. So
Okay.
it does use a proprietary Lenovo charger, although you are able to charge this via USB-C if you have enough voltage.
You can.
So
Okay,
yes,
cool.
although I will
Um,
say I think it did require me to, if I was gaming, it definitely it gave me a little nag message saying you're not using the right
right.
connector
Yeah.
when it kicks into the when it kicks over to the discrete GPU, because that does use a lot more power. So
Little message pops up and says, "This ain't gonna work, boss."
right, exactly. But
But
if you're doing product,
FYI, I
go
did
ahead. Sorry.
pull up the specifications. You're looking at USB-C 3.2, and as well as the USB-A's. They're both 3.2.
Okay, so not 4. All right, that's kind of disappointing. But USB-C
Yeah.
3.2, I believe, is still 800
I mean,
megabits.
clearly it was a deal breaker that you noticed terribly.
Oh
So,
yeah, because I honestly just don't plug in that many peripherals or have any. I don't have any external hard drives and things like that I really would have
right.
noticed a bottleneck. So yeah, but
Yeah, but it's good
the,
to know if you are using an external hard drive. That's
I mean,
that's
the thing is,
yeah.
because this is an AMD machine, you're not going to get Thunderbolt, and so that really is probably the only downside of going with to me an AMC. I'm sorry, an AMD based laptop in general. They that is Intel's patent, Intel's light, and they don't license it
Too
to
many
AMD.
letters.
So yeah,
So
okay. So here we have the display with a nice little
okay,
hump there for the webcam, and I'm going to show you. Actually,
okay.
this is something I should do. Is that it is able to be open with one finger, which is really nice.
Always a good to pass the
Yes.
one finger test.
But I mean, if you look, I mean, this is a fairly it's a fairly thick base,
Yeah.
and it
Oh,
weighs
definitely.
around 5 pounds. So I mean, it's got a little it's got enough resistance on the bottom there to enable you to do the one finger test. So let's see if I can show you the RGB. So this is, I think, what I'm trying to get you the best view here. Maybe if I just do it straight.
Ugh.
So
Tough to find an angle, but yeah, I got it right there.
So I'm switching, but you have different RGB profiles
Okay.
that you can do, different colors, or off, just by pressing the function button and the space bar. And it is a full size. Let's see if I can get my arm out of the way here.
Okay.
There we go. That's better. So a full size keyboard with number pad, which is nice. And then for you
With number pad on the
with
side
you
there.
gamers out
That is
there, it
nice.
does have nice large switches for using your mouse and keyboard and WASD and all of that. So you don't have like the one that's integrated up here, which makes it a little harder to type. So yeah, this is definitely
Yeah. Good.
I mean the way it's doing the little switchy colors right now. So I think that's actually when you boot it up, that's what it looks like. I think I would call this a for the size of the laptop. I mean, it's definitely not MacBook sized, but it's got a pretty large touchpad. That's, if you can hear it there. Can you hear it?
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see.
Are we clicky? Are we going ASMR here?
That's
okay.
The sound of the touchpad. And then because it is a Lenovo laptop, it has really great keyboard, really nice feel, sculpted keys, plenty of feedback without being noisy. So I find that, like most Lenovo PCs I've used, whether it's a desktop or a laptop, the keyboard is just fantastic. And I'm just going to go to YouTube so we can hear the speaker.
Okay.
So you've got, let's see here. Right now I'm just pulling.
Make sure you pull up our channel.
Of course.
Don't
So
want a copyright strike.
Built-in stereo speakers up here versus like some on the bottom that some laptops ship with that fired down.
Yeah.
This is great TV. So.
It's called Benefit of the Doud, by the way. DOUD on the end there. Just,
Thanks.
Yeah.
I totally forgot.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, well, it happens. It happens.
So let me boost the audio here. Well, we're at 100 now.
That sounds pretty boosted already.
It's pretty boosted. But it's fairly loud. It's definitely not the loudest speakers I've ever heard on a laptop, but you've got separation from when you're playing your games or listening to music, viewing content. Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
And we are live. We are live. Thanks, other Adam. All right, let's see.
Yep, you're welcome.
So
I mean, he
you've
says you're welcome.
you've had a hardware tour. You've seen the keyboard. You've heard the speakers, and let's talk about performance because I mean this isn't the highest spec
Yeah.
version that you can get of this. You can get up all the way up to a Ryzen 9, and I believe 32 gigabytes of RAM shipped, and I'm sure more storage as well. But when I
Right.
was gaming, and let's see the titles I've used on this. I play a lot of NBA 2K24, which isn't that demanding of a title, but I typically get around 70 to 90 frames per second, which is pretty decent. And that's plugged
Okay.
in. And the thing that I really like about it is it almost never has audible fans. Just every once in a while. Typically, when it's
Okay.
like at least with that game, when it's loading a game itself, you'll just kind of hear it'll literally just go, wow. it'll just come up for like a second or two, and then it'll be quiet again. So, and honestly,
Getting hot. Okay, it's fine now.
but and if you look, I mean, showing again, look at all the ventilation it has there.
Yeah, that is not a
On-
little bit.
Right. So on the back, and then between that and on the bottom, this is a very well cooled machine. And it didn't just looking inside, it looks to not have a lot of extra things like that might be blocking. And I'm no thermals expert, and I don't have like a FLIR camera or something to show you. But I never felt like any hot
Right.
spots or any places on the laptop where it was getting warm. So when you're gaming, I'd say for most mid-tier titles, and maybe for something like even like Cyberpunk 77, something that's a little more demanding, especially if you're plugged in. This will be more than enough.
Okay.
So the downside, and the downside of it is because it is a gaming PC with a discrete GPU. Battery life is not great,
Okay.
especially if you have it with like the gaming profile on and the screen brightness up. I got anywhere from 2 to 6 hours of battery life. Really just
Okay.
depends on what I'm doing. If I'm just browsing the web, things like that, just doing more productivity kind of stuff, then you can get about 6 hours out of it. But if you're gaming, I mean, 2 hours is pretty good. Honestly, that's about the
Right.
most you're going to get
Right.
out of it, right? So that's just something you have to keep in mind. Maybe if you're planning on doing an extended gaming session somewhere like in a coffee shop, you might want to bring your charger with you or an external battery that's capable of putting out. I think this requires it's like 170 watts of power.
Yeah. Do you have the charger with you, like accessible? I'm just kind of
Uh,
curious, like from a size perspective, how large it is.
I do, but it's under my desk. I don't know that I can get it up here.
Well, that's okay. Yeah,
But I
that's
can
fine. We
tell
don't.
you, if you go back to it's actually a pretty recent episode, the review of the Anchor charging adapter or the charger that we showed.
Oh, the
one that
desk, the
was
desk charger.
the desk charger. It is. When I did a comparison, uh, for the size of it, I actually used that adapter to show it. So I mean,
Oh, okay.
it's a chunker. I mean, it definitely is going to add some weight to your bag if you take it along. I mean, which it has to because
Yeah.
it requires 170 watts to power the GPU with this thing, or at least it's 100.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It charges really fast though. This
does
is
it?
this
Nice.
yes with using the factory included charger. I believe it charged in about an hour or so for me, which I thought was really good, all things
Yeah.
considered. So
Hell yeah.
I'm very happy with this. I'm happy with the fact that it's easy to access the internals if you want to upgrade it. It's got good performance. I feel like the display. I mean, you can look at the viewing angles here. I mean, this is not an OLED display, and
Right.
This is not the highest in Legion. I'm gonna move my arm here so you can see, but I don't see. I mean, it's an IPS display, so you should have pretty good viewing angles, but.
Yeah.
And it's a matte display, which I think definitely helps with that. Not getting too
Yeah.
much glare, and
I noticed it
there's a
was
window
only
right here.
it only got up. I noticed it only got up to
300
300 nits,
Yeah,
which
that is
I think could be
definitely a downside.
problematic if you find yourself if you find yourself like away from outside, but then you're only going to be out there for a couple hours anyway,
Yeah.
so it won't matter.
Yeah, I mean,
but yeah, so
you just can't judge. I mean, yes, 300 nits doesn't sound like a lot because it's not, but most laptop displays are not like a smartphone display where they get up into the really good ones get up into the 1,000
Right.
or what is it, the Samsung is like, or is it OnePlus? Is that's like 5,000 nits per
The
hertz?
Apple Watch Ultra 2 has the Apple Watch Ultra 2 has a 3,000 nit screen, if you could believe that.
I believe
Like
it.
it's just insane.
Yeah, and yeah,
But
I mean,
yeah.
the most I think I've ever seen on a laptop display is around 800 to like 1,000. So this is sort of in the lower range, but it's I mean,
Okay.
I have not had, at least indoors. This is not something that I've taken outside. I mean, it like I said, weighs around 5 pounds. I think it's actually a 4.7, something like that. But it's
Okay.
it's a 16-inch laptop. Now, granted, it's not like 16-inch laptops
Yeah.
of yore. I mean, I think to me the 16-inch form factor is the new 15-inch laptop of yore, because just, I mean, you have very little bezel around the screen except for where the webcam is. Um, let's see if I can think of
Yeah.
any. But it's, I mean, it's still a solid, chunky machine, because it is a gaming laptop and needs that cooling. But I'll take
Mm-hmm.
that, because unlike some of the competing laptops that may not be gaming laptops, but may have that RTX 4060, or maybe are more like an ultrabook or something like that, they're sealed and a lot harder to get into. I'll take the upgradability for the, so it's a balance and a trade-off. Just
Right.
trying to think of anything else. Let's see. There's Lenovo's Vantage software that it ships with for updating your drivers and things like that are
Yeah.
specific to Lenovo outside of Windows Update. But overall, it's a solid machine, and let's see. Is there anything else? Okay. I really feel like if you're a graphic designer or something like that, a video, someone who edits video, produces video, this is a machine that, even if you're not a gamer, is a solid choice for typically. I mean, I've seen this machine for around $1,000. So
Okay.
that's a lot of kit for,
Yeah.
it's basically like like entry level MacBook Air money almost.
Yeah, so I've got this. I found on Amazon, which I believe is the same configuration as yours. It's got the 512. It's got the 4060. It looks like, although this says 165 hertz, and I think you said yours was 144, so it's close. But we've got that for 1219, 1,219.
I was looking at Lenovo's
Link in the
website,
show
and
notes, by the way, and we
Lenovo's
thank you.
Lenovo's website, at least the one that I was looking at, is actually a Ryzen 5 as far as the specs, and it says 144 hertz. This, when I actually game on this and the discrete GPU kicks in, it actually flashes on the screen 100 and was it 166?
Yeah, 165. Yeah.
165. So yes, I believe this actually supports an
Okay.
165 refresh rate, which, I mean,
Cool.
at that point, I think it's more than the human eye could probably perceive.
Right. Oh yeah.
Versus like 60 hertz. So yeah,
I don't know. You gamers are pretty hardcore, man. They
that's
will.
true.
I think they'll fight you on that refresh rate
They probably will,
if you poo poo it like that.
and I will just say sorry. It's not really my. I mean,
Yeah.
if you buy a desktop display, they go up to like 240 hertz now, depending on which ones they are,
Yeah.
and how expensive they are. So it's all. But yeah, again, a solid gaming laptop that I think you know punches up in terms of its capabilities. Really,
Yeah.
only suffering in battery life. But again, I think that's kind of a given with gaming laptops.
Yeah,
So
I mean, you don't buy a gaming laptop because you want to go sit in a coffee shop for 8 hours. You just don't. I mean, that's just one of the realities. So let's wrap this up. What do we think about, like, value for the dollar? Are you happy with the machine? Anything that you would want to change about it?
I will say one other thing. While this is a gaming laptop, I mean, if you look at some of the
Mm-hmm.
competition, this really, in terms of design, I think I said at the beginning, is very understated. It actually strays more towards like a Razer gaming laptop than some of the
Okay.
competition, which have just RGB lights all over and crazy designs. I mean,
Right.
this is very just matte finish, gunmetal gray,
Yeah.
with the Legion in a contrasting finish, and that's about it.
I think that's kind of
On
the
the
trend,
outside.
though. Like, coming, fresh off of CES, a lot of the gaming laptops that I saw, they weren't going too crazy with the RGB. Like the keyboard, definitely. There was one I saw from like MSI where even the trackpad lit up with RGB colors, but like generally from the outside, I think they're getting a lot more understated. Asus just had like a strip of LEDs across the back of the monitor. So I really think that's kind of a trend, and I think that's because a gaming laptop doesn't necessarily just have to be for gamers. It can be for professionals that are just looking for a little bit of extra power.
And that's kind of what I was saying about this, is that, I mean, even though it is marketed as a gaming laptop, and maybe that is, the majority of the people that will purchase it will purchase it for that, but it was
Right.
very solid when I was in Adobe Premiere, when I was in Photoshop, doing work in Photoshop with a lot of layers. In
Yeah.
fact, I think I made it work harder in Photoshop and in Premiere than I did with any of the games that I played, because the fans kicked on more for those, especially for when I was rendering video, than just about anything else. But
Well,
yeah,
sure.
so, and I
Sure.
actually prefer the more the muted aesthetic. I'm not someone who needs all of the RGB.
Yeah.
You can see by the background that I have here in my studio, I'm going for the less is more approach. So, and I think that's why this laptop suits me also well. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this laptop, and I'm going to keep using it. So
Nice. And so, on a scale of 1 to Fitbit, where Fitbit is the best thing ever. No, I'm just kidding. But no, that's good. I want to make that a thing, though. I think I want to make that a thing for this channel. Rating things on a
I
score
just don't
of
know
1
what's
to
in the
Fitbit.
middle. Like, what are the other tiers? If it's 1 to Fitbit.
Just 1 and Fitbit. That's it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then Fitbit. I mean, I think that's going to be.
I would give this an 8.765.
Okay, nice. Very solid recommendation. So great. So if you are in the market for a new gaming laptop, or just a laptop that can power you through some more arduous tasks like some Photoshop, some layers, then the Lenovo Legion Slim 5 gaming laptop, a 16-inch, is a good one. There will be a link in the show notes down below, and as always, if you click on that link, we might get a little bit of a cut, and we thank you for that. But for now, I think that is going to do it for this review on the benefit of the Doud channel. Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed what you saw here, and if you really enjoyed it, go ahead and hit that like button. Comment down below. Are you going to be getting a new Lenovo Legion Slim 5 laptop as your daily driver? And if you want some early access, you can hop on to Patreon at patreon.com/benefit of the Doud. I'd like to thank Cliff Thomas for doing all of his hard work behind the scenes and for walking us through the Lenovo Legion Slim 5 gaming laptop. But most of all, and as always, I would like to thank you for listening and for giving us the benefit of the Doud.